Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith stands at the center of Alberta politics as its 19th premier, but her story goes far beyond her title. Smith's journey includes years of hard work, family roots in Calgary, and a career that's zigzagged from journalism to broadcasting, then into party leadership. For many, her straightforward style and focus on Alberta values have made her a familiar name across Canada. Her background, from subsidized housing to the Premier's office, reveals much about her drive and her priorities. People are drawn to how she balances public life with family, and how she's built wealth and influence through decades of public service, media, and advocacy. Smith's life, career choices, and outspoken leadership style always seem to get conversation going, especially when it comes to her policies, net worth, and family's unique history. Early life and family background. Danielle Smith's story starts in Calgary, where her early experiences helped shape the leader people know today. Growing up in a large family with working-class roots, Smith saw both the challenges and the rewards of Alberta life. Her childhood and family heritage, filled with complex stories and a few ongoing controversies, laid the groundwork for her drive, independence, and political style. Let's look at the details that shaped her outlook, from her Calgary upbringing and family dynamics to her formative university years. Growing up in Calgary. Danielle Smith was born in Calgary on April 1, 1971, the second of 5 kids. Her family often faced tight budgets, living in subsidized housing while her parents worked long hours to support the household. Her father, Doug Smith, worked as an oilfield consultant, a job closely tied to Alberta's energy economy. Her mother, Sharon, balanced time between a local diner and raising the family. Life in a bustling household taught Smith about teamwork and responsibility from a young age. She was an active Girl Guide, which sparked an early interest in leadership and community service. Despite financial struggles, the Smith family emphasized the value of education, conversation, and hard work at the dinner table. The roots of her practical, no-nonsense style can be traced back to these lively childhood years in Calgary. Family heritage and early influences. Smith's heritage has been the subject of attention and debate. She's spoken about Ukrainian family roots on her father's side, tracing the family's arrival in Canada back to World War I. Her father also became involved in local politics, even serving as a board member of the Wildrose Party. These experiences brought discussions about current events and conservative values into daily life, quietly setting the stage for Smith's future in politics and media. Controversy entered the picture when Smith repeatedly shared family stories about having Cherokee ancestry through her great-great-grandmother, Mary Crow. Despite Smith's pride in these claims, thorough genealogical research and public records didn't support the existence of a direct connection to the Cherokee Nation. Experts and Indigenous leaders questioned her statements, pointing to the absence of verifiable links in both census records and Cherokee tribal rolls. The conversation around her family background highlights the complex way personal history and politics often collide, and how family stories, true or not, can take on a life of their own. Educational pursuits at the University of Calgary. Smith's academic journey began at the University of Calgary, a campus known for its diverse student body and lively political debates. She graduated with 2 degrees, English and Economics. University life exposed her to sharp political minds like Ezra Levant and Naheed Nenshi, who would also go on to make their mark in Canadian politics. During her time at university, Smith dove into activism and student politics. She led the Progressive Conservative Club, championed free speech, and developed strong debating skills. Campus life challenged her views and sharpened her approach to complex issues. Learning from respected conservative mentors like Tom Flanagan, Smith built a network of future leaders. These university years weren't just about textbooks, they were about finding her voice, taking charge, and getting her first taste of real political action that would drive her career for decades to come. Journalism, media, and advocacy career. Danielle Smith didn't dive into politics straight from school. She carved out a reputation first as a journalist, columnist, and talk radio host. Her path through Canadian media helped her develop the voice and confidence that would later define her leadership style. Whether it was behind a news desk or on the airwaves, Smith used media platforms to shape conversations about policy, economics, and Alberta's identity. From journalist to radio host, Smith launched her media career as a columnist at the Calgary Herald. Her writing stood out for its clarity and bold views on Alberta's future, addressing everything from healthcare to property rights. She wasn't afraid to be direct, often pressing against the grain with opinions that stirred debate. She quickly gained local credibility for being both well-informed and outspoken, a combination that landed her a role as a talk radio host. On Calgary's 770 CHQR, Smith became a household name for many Albertans. Her daily call-in show gave her the chance to break down the day's top stories and talk directly with listeners about everything from provincial politics to national issues. This wasn't just about delivering news, it was about driving the conversation and keeping politicians accountable. Smith used her spot on the radio to hold elected officials to the fire with tough questions, present clear explanations of complex policy issues in plain language, give everyday Albertans a direct line into political discussions. Advocacy and policy work. Her advocacy work concentrated on supporting Alberta property owners in defending their rights, championing small businesses and pushing back against new regulations, promoting energy independence and resource development as a backbone of Alberta's prosperity. Smith also lent her communication skills to national debates about provincial autonomy. She became a leading advocate for Alberta's right to control its resources and challenge federal policies she saw as harmful to the province. Through a mix of public speaking, media appearances, and policy reports, Smith managed to keep Alberta's interests front and center, locally and across Canada. Political trajectory and leadership achievements. Danielle Smith's rise in Alberta politics is filled with twists, bold moves, and plenty of headlines. From her time as a school board trustee to leading two major political parties, her career has shaped key debates in the province. Let's break down her path to power, the controversies that followed, and her return as premier, with a close look at the policies and moments that define her leadership. Entry into politics in Wildrose leadership. Smith jumped into elected office in the late 1990s as a trustee for the Calgary Board of Education. Her time there was short but set the tone for her willingness to speak up, even in tough situations. By 2008, she took on an even bigger role. Smith left the Progressive Conservatives and joined the Wildrose Party, a small group determined to shake up Alberta politics. In October 2009, Smith became leader of Wildrose. Under her watch, the party's fortunes shifted fast. Wildrose stood out for policies that put property rights, low taxes, and personal freedoms front and center. Supporters loved the straight talk. Under her leadership, Wildrose surged in the polls, even leading at times against the long-ruling PCs. The party's caucus grew as new MLAs joined from other parties. In the 2012 election, Wildrose won a record 17 seats and earned the title of Alberta's official opposition. Controversies and the Progressive Conservative shift. Smith's time atop Wildrose wasn't free from trouble. As the party grew, it faced internal rifts over social policies. Some members wanted a stronger stance on social conservatism while Smith aimed to focus on economic issues. These differences led to tension within the party. Then came the shock of 2014. Smith, along with 8 other Wildrose MLAs, crossed the floor to join the PCs under Premier Jim Prentice. She called it a move for unity, saying Alberta's Conservatives needed to stand together against the NDP and federal overreach. Still, the decision stirred up strong feelings. Longtime Wildrose supporters accused her of betrayal. The party plunged into crisis and many voters felt abandoned. Smith lost the Wildrose leadership and her seat in the 2015 election. Return as UCP leader and Alberta premier. Smith made her political comeback in 2022. She entered the race to lead the United Conservative Party, which had formed after Wildrose and the PCs merged in 2017. With a focus on Alberta's rights and pushback against Ottawa, she won the leadership and became premier in October 2022. As UCP leader and premier, Smith quickly made headlines. She promised, and delivered, the Alberta Sovereignty Act, a law designed to give the province power to ignore federal rules seen as harmful to Alberta. Her government doubled down on energy, pipelines, and provincial autonomy. The UCP, under her leadership, held power in the 2023 election, overcoming fierce opposition. Key achievements from her tenure include passing the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act, which lets Alberta push back on federal laws. Efforts to strengthen the province's energy sector and economy. Campaigns that kept conservative voters engaged despite deep divisions. Net worth and lifestyle insights. Danielle Smith's net worth and lifestyle choices stand out in both the political world and Canadian public life. With an estimated net worth near $5 million, her story reflects determination, smart career pivots, and the value she places on privacy and personal comfort. Smith's earnings stretch across industries, while her everyday life brings together work, family time, and a passion for Alberta traditions. Here's a closer look at what fuels her income, how she spends her downtime, and the way she balances a public profile with a personal touch. Sources of wealth, politics, media, business. Smith's road to her current financial status didn't start in politics alone. Her wealth is the sum of steady earnings from several areas. Media and broadcasting. Before entering Alberta's top office, Smith spent years as a columnist and talk radio host. Her positions at the Calgary Herald and 770 CHQR boosted her profile and her bank account, thanks to high-profile contracts, speaking fees, and additional media gigs. Political roles. While Alberta's premier salary pales next to private sector packages, the compensation is solid. Over her years in public office, Smith earned both salary and benefits, with some estimates putting an Alberta premier's annual pay well into the six-figure range. Business ventures. Smith's resume features stints as a business advocate and industry spokesperson. Serving as president of the Alberta Enterprise Group allowed access to business circles and consulting opportunities tied to her expertise in advocacy, strategy, and public relations. Personal life, relationships, and residence. Outside of the spotlight, Smith keeps her family private but rooted. She's married to David Moore, an artist and craftsman, and the pair share a life just outside Calgary. While her schedule is jammed with public duties, Smith has always said home is where she finds the most joy and calm. Here are a few things that define her personal life. Family time. Both Smith and Moore spend downtime keeping their home life relaxed, with hobbies that range from gardening to art. Rural comforts. They live on an acreage, not a flashy city estate, reflecting a preference for quiet, space, and Alberta's open landscape. Their home is a reflection of local style, practical, warm, and filled with Alberta character. Relationship style. Smith and her husband keep most details private, but when she speaks about her partner, it's clear she values having someone who supports her long hours and understands public life's demands. Public image and lifestyle choices. Spending patterns. Reports place her net worth between $4-5 million, but her spending leans practical. She has a reputation for budgeting, even as premier, and selects quality over luxury. Her wardrobe, home choices, and travel all point toward comfort, utility, and respect for hard-earned money. Public persona. Smith keeps her public image tightly managed. She avoids ostentatious displays and prefers speaking directly to voters and journalists rather than showy public relations stunts. Her communication style, clear, plain language, no frills, fits with her broader lifestyle. Community involvement. While intensely private, she regularly engages with community groups and local events, preferring grassroots settings over star-studded fundraisers. Media scrutiny. Critics have sometimes poked at her office spending and decisions as premier, but there's little evidence of lavish personal indulgence. Legacy and current influence. Danielle Smith's leadership has left a mark on Alberta that's hard to ignore. Her policies and public statements spark debates across the province and beyond. Whether you admire her boldness or disagree with her methods, Smith's influence reaches from the halls of the Alberta legislature to national headlines. This section breaks down her signature policies, the heated discussions that follow her, and the way she's reshaping Alberta's direction. Signature legislative and policy impacts. Smith's time as premier stands out for direct action and strong messaging. Her government is known for championing provincial autonomy and standing up to Ottawa. The Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act is one of her most talked about moves, signaling Alberta's intent to challenge federal laws that threaten the province's interests, mainly in oil, gas, and energy. Key policy decisions and impacts include energy independence, advocacy for Alberta's right to control its resources, limit federal overreach, and keep pipelines moving. Canada Pension Plan Withdrawal Proposal, a call for Alberta to explore leaving the CPP, arguing that Albertans pay more than they receive. This proposal divides opinion but shows her willingness to take big swings to protect Alberta's stake. Reform in healthcare and education, moves to boost parental rights and challenge what she frames as ideological bias in universities, plus controversial efforts to change healthcare delivery and limit certain types of care, hitting sensitive topics head-on. Ongoing debates and criticisms. Smith courts both support and controversy with equal energy. Her visits to U.S. conservative circles, including meetings with Donald Trump and Ben Shapiro, and participation in Pragaroo fundraising, raise eyebrows and make headlines. These ties bring attention to Alberta but also draw criticism for using provincial resources to back causes outside Canada. Other areas that fuel debate. Social policies. Her government's moves to restrict gender-affirming care for minors and policies regarding transgender athletes have sparked protests and made Alberta a lightning rod in the national conversation about individual rights. Media and rhetoric. Smith's communication style is blunt and unapologetic. Some call her statements on COVID-19, Ukraine, and federal authority divisive or even inflammatory. Supporters see her as a voice for the everyday Albertan. Detractors worry about the impact on public trust and unity. Shaping Alberta's future. Danielle Smith puts Alberta at the center of national debate. Her strong stand on provincial autonomy has inspired other provinces to demand more control over their own affairs. She consistently pushes back against federal policy, arguing that Alberta's economy, especially energy, must come first. Ways Smith is shaping Alberta's direction. Provincial identity. By framing Alberta as an underdog, she rallies public sentiment and encourages a stronger sense of province-first thinking. National discourse. Her assertive approach on social, educational, and economic policies forces federal leaders and opposition parties to respond, sometimes changing their own positions on provincial rights. Long-term legacy. Whether she's remembered as a champion for Alberta or as a source of deep division, Smith's leadership has sparked fresh discussions about federalism, resource control, and how differences between provinces shape Canada's future. Danielle Smith's story blends grit, ambition, and a deep connection to Alberta's roots. From her days in a crowded Calgary home to the Premier's chair, she's built influence with strong convictions, a practical lifestyle, and a public image that sparks debate everywhere she goes. Her journey weaves together family bonds, a rich media career, and bold political moves that leave a mark on both her supporters and critics. Smith's net worth, lifestyle choices, and outspoken leadership show how deeply her values guide her work and legacy in Alberta.